I am so thrilled to be here in front of you all today. Really, the idea that schools could be powered by clean energy is one that I think has so many ramifications. There's 134,000 schools around the country. Every community has a school. And you all are the tip of the spear. You're getting it done. And that's just amazing. And hats off to you. So let's see. Yes. So you've seen the title. This talk is about the momentum in the shift to clean energy. We have solutions, we have momentum, and we're close to a tipping point. So let's just dive right in. We've been tethered to fossil fuels. I mean, really abundant lifestyles, but we've been tethered to fossil fuels without any choices for decades and decades. So if you were interested in finding clean energy or somehow procuring it, you just didn't, you could try to lobby Congress to change things. You could try to, connect with your utility, but really very few opportunities to make any type of change. And of course, as you all know, we're now in a place where we have local energy. It's like I get my tomatoes from the garden, I get my water from the well, I get my energy from my roof. It's really a different world, and there's so much power in the idea that people can take direct action. And it's not about sacrifice, right? So the choices that are in front of us now are actually better choices. These products that people are putting in front of us, they are attacking a $200 trillion market over the next 20 years as we rebuild everything relating to our energy infrastructure, how we make energy, the devices we use, and how we use energy. So the words these days is we're going to electrify everything. That's what we're going to do. And it's really because anything that fossil fuels can do, electricity can do better. And so the innovation here is just handing people opportunities to get better products, more convenience, more value. And the thing I want to impress upon you is that the gravity, the sheer economic force of big companies pursuing incumbents and taking market share and with better products, that's happened again and again in lots of markets, lots of industries, as they've essentially bumped into technology, right? So commerce is the engine of change. And I'm going to do a quick study here on electric cars. These are the safest cars available. Talk about performance, right? They are the safest because it's like a skateboard. The battery's on the floorboards, and it's so heavy. It's very hard to flip the car. Car handles really well, steers where you're meant to steer. It doesn't have an engine to fall in your lap if you get hit. In fact, the whole front and back of the car are like crumple zones. So these electric cars are getting amazing, off the charts types of, safety ratings. And that's, that's an important one, right? People want to be safe. Let's not take risk. Not with our cars, our children. And then you can relax, right? This is about convenience. You can quit your part-time job pumping gas. You head there every 2 weeks. You can just do it at home. People ask me, how long does it take to charge your electric car? Probably 10, 15 seconds. And they're like, it's just like my iPhone. I plug it in, I go to sleep, and in the morning it's fully charged. I don't have to go hunting for gasoline. So the convenience factor is also off the charts. But I find what's most profound is that you can make your own energy in order to drive around, right? So solar is a miracle. It's a miracle. Right? It's just no moving parts. It's stupid simple. It's just a panel. It's just like 20 years. You don't have to touch it. Sign me up. So we're in a place now where lots and lots of products are showing this type of, better capability and being put in front of consumers. And a company like Tesla, one of the first, obviously, of the electric car companies, they just took the market. They just walked right in and they took it. Do you know they spend no money on advertising? It's all word of mouth. That tells you something about how people communicate. The sales here are crazy. Mercedes, BMW, Lexus, forget it. They're being dusted. Faster than a Porsche, more efficient than a Prius. I'll take one. Model Y, same types of statistics, and all the Tesla models are performing wonderfully in the marketplace. And this is the world's fastest car. This car costs you a little over $100,000, and it will smoke cars that cost $300,000 or $400,000 or more. I mean, it is the world's fastest production car. So the performance is absolutely there. The threat to the incumbents is real. They see that the competitors, they see the competition coming, and they are responding. They are responding. They all have new models. Whoop, two at a time. They all have new models coming up, right? And with good reason. It's the only way to stay in the market. And I just want to pause for a moment and talk about some of the new functionality we get, right? So this truck, this is the Ford F-150, it will power your house for up to 10 days, like depending on how big your house is, how much energy you use. But it's not just that you charge the car. If you need it, if the grid is down, it will power your house. And so together with solar power in a blackout of some type that might last some time, you really could see a situation where you'd be fine, resilient, more resilient. And you all know this also with school buses and the solar and the resilient schools and community safe places. And it's going to be important. And the work you're doing is transformational. And even if it's cloudy for a while, you can drive your battery, out of the neighborhood to wherever the power is good, charge it up and bring it back. How about that? That's pretty amazing. But we really are electrifying everything. So everything in your home that uses fossil fuels, this could be your gas stove, it could be your heaters, your furnaces, or your hot water heaters. All of these things now have electric corollaries that perform better and are priced right. And the companies that are taking these things to market, they're very serious about getting market share. So we're in a place where momentum here on the consumer side is exciting. And nobody in the springtime likes to get out one of these tools and try to start it up, right? With a fossil fuel engine, forget it. It's just so inconvenient. And the pollution and the noise, oh my God. Things are getting better. All kinds of things. School buses too. I will admit I added that just before. But how about it? Do we see evidence that the transition's happening like sort of globally? We do. So solar panels, every 30 seconds a new home or business goes solar in this country. We've been consistently adding a lot of capacity. Vehicle sales as well. Here globally, you can see the trend. We're really on the upswing. It is 14% market share right now globally, and that statistic changes monthly. It goes up. It's really exciting. Even the world's largest car market now, 25% of the cars in China are electric. New cars sold, sorry. So I think we have solutions, we have momentum as well. The side of the business where I came from, which is the generation of utility scale power through solar or wind or large scale batteries, even producing hydrogen now, has actually, it's been started, I started in 2020, right? We've been front loading clean energy onto the grid, which is probably a good thing since we're adding all these new clean energy products. But let's just take a quick spin. The trends are what you would expect. It's a better product, it costs less, and off you go. It's worth pointing out that the coal industry used to supply over 50%, over half of our power, and it's now down to 19%. And renewables are at 23%. So we're 20% above coal now in this country, and we're 41% fossil free. So we definitely have a long way to go, but boy, that's not where things were when I started, and it's what I would have hoped to see, right? Exactly what I would have hoped to see. Globally, it's almost the same graph. Did you even notice I switched? But 38% fossil free, more coal market share, that'll change. It's too expensive. And just to hammer the point home, China, Brazil, India, you have solar and wind and solar. Just the adoption curves are staggering. And here's why. It just costs less. If you're not using solar or wind, you're basically going to be priced out of the market eventually. It costs less, and it costs a lot less. I mean, you're already 30% less just with the first group there. So we've made renewables the lowest cost source of energy. That's what's happened as the volume has come up. But why? Why did it happen? We're just replacing fuel with technology or innovation, right? These technologies are foregoing the need to mine or drill or burn, and they bring their own basket of upside, right? You don't have to deliver your fuel. It's never going to deplete. The production is modular. It happens in factories, just like, it's unbelievable. These factories for solar panels are just staggering. It's a sight to be seen. And we don't use water as part of our process, right? So, of course, there's no pollution, but we don't use water, and that's important because the combustion of fossil fuels or nuclear fission as well, they use water as part of their process. They are the second largest withdrawers of water in the country. Agriculture is number one, after that, fossil fuels. And it's a close second, right? So we don't use water. We're going to have a lot of extra water. And it's not really something people talk about, but they should. But this is by far my favorite slide. This is, you could call it the crystal ball slide, right? This is the crystal ball. I can tell you that 95% of the power that comes online in the next couple of years, like the next decade almost, is going to be clean energy. Because the fossil fuel groups have either given up trying to get into the grid, or they are applying less to be getting into the grid. Because the people who have the serious money, this is a follow the money story, the people that have the serious money, who are taking real bets about whether there'll be transmission on the capacity line, or capacity on the transmission lines that they're trying to plug into, that's a $250,000 question, and after that, it's a couple $1 million over the course of the interconnection process just to stay in the queue. So the people who believe that they'll have a viable product for the market are the ones that are it's clean energy. You don't hear. So here's a little side ramification to that. If we add all these electric cars, all transportation and all solar schools and all electrification of our homes and heat and industrial power and everything, all of that's going to need a lot more electricity. That's going to spur this. So that's the demand side. This is the supply side. Both of them are going to have to move. Luckily, the industry is kind of sees that and is ahead of it, right? So there's an awful lot of capacity that's staged here for coming online. The problem is that we're going to need to still build quite a bit of transmission. That's okay. So let's talk for a minute about fossil fuels. I'll call it the fall of fossil fuels. There's just it's not a pretty picture, right? This is the decline of an industry that served us for generations and done a lot of good things for society, but it's like a lot of industries. It's being eclipsed, and but it's not just coal. You can see on the left-hand side that internal combustion engines, so regular cars or old cars or whatever you want to call them, has started to slip. We've peaked in buying cars, and in part, I think it's because people are like, I've already signed up for this truck or this Tesla or whatever, or they know they want their next car to be electric. And that's, or it's because of Generation180, and we have a campaign, electrify your ride, and sign the pledge that you're going to buy an electric car. That's your next car. That's a great pledge. It's, something's happening there. But coal and gas, CapEx, also oil and gas, they are seeing less and less investment. And again, it's a similar reason. The future's clean. And the bankers see it, and they price it in. There's real risk in building fossil fuel infrastructure. It's an abandonment risk. And their costs are going up. Our cost of capital is getting cheaper. So predictable when you don't have that pesky fuel to buy, too. When I got into business of clean energy, what was really staggering is they called it infrastructure, and they thought it was more like an airport, because you just have or a toll road, right? The predictability of the cash flows is what makes this capital so cheap, and that's a massive advantage, and it's an enduring advantage. And of course, on the policy side, we're seeing tons of new policies all around the globe, but then also in the United States. I'm sure you've heard about the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. That is a landmark, keystone, can't say enough things about it, important piece of legislation that's going to help move the industry. So in my view, we're close to a tipping point. This is one of those situations, I think, where it really applies, right? Change happens slowly, and then all at once. It's just suddenly, what happened? And I've tried to put together some type of model, a way to think about that, and I'm, going to walk you through it. The first aspect of this, to think about it, is just that climate is a physics problem. The CO2 is there. It's not going to listen to reason. It's not emotional. It doesn't care about anything. It is actually just unfolding, and it's delivering to us these impacts that are forcing action, pressing, ongoing press, and that's making us ask a question daily. At least I ask myself: when are we going to decide to act, or when are we going to stop drifting? Because once we decide to act as a society, once we get together and decide this is it, we have to do this now, and we're all going to work on it together, that's a paradigm shift. And those are really important. It turns out, if you want to change a system, a big system or a small system, there's all kinds of things, leverage points you can get in there to change it, all kinds of ways. You change the prices, you change rules, you change different things. But the thing that Donella Meadows, who's an MIT professor and author, she's great. I came across actually her paper right when I was sort of around the time I was founding Generation180, and that paper is, it's called Leverage Points, and she lists the 12 things, the ways you can change a system. And one of the best, number 2, I think, is you change the paradigm, because once you change that, everything else changes. It just follows in lockstep, right? So new goals, new priorities, all of those things, politics, economics, there's sort of a type of unity that happens once we all agree this is something we want to do. And that brings the most rapid system change. That's the punchline. Rapid system change, that's what we're after. But we are in a world where the incumbents are not really ready to walk away from what they're doing, right? There's a type of predatory delay that they are propagating. And it's a question of signal versus noise. There's lots of signals that say we should be doing this. I put all of this stuff in the basket of noise. It's divisive politics, it's denial and misinformation and just chaos, and discord and strife. Those things keep people from banding together and figuring stuff out. So your decisions are stalled. I think that's what's happened. I think a lot of us maybe think this is what's happening. It's not really any great revelation, but God, it's awful. And one of those things that I think is the most, undermines the most is actually relates just to communication. Again, Generation 180 is in the business of communicating change that needs to happen. And, oh no, can you not see that? Oh, you can't. So there's a really nice thing here. This is the boxes it together, makes it look nice. I spend a lot of time on that stuff. But the old script says, we're dependent, the problem's too big, the future's grim, climate denial, doom and gloom. And that's kind of the script we've been hearing. It's discouraging, and it's repeated often. So we've been living on a diet of bread and water. But the new reality, it's a banquet of promise. Did you get that? Progress. A banquet. There's so much going on that is just not sort of making it into our collective reality. But we're making progress. There's solution. There's really broad public support. The trends are favorable. The energy transition is happening. And so in that environment, with that mentality, maybe that paradigm, your choices matter, sign me up, I'm a believer, hopeful, right? Let's all do our part. So that is part of what, made me interested in solar schools. And the idea that, the beacons of telling us what's going on in the world and making sense of it. It's amazing if a child walks out of a solar school and just sort of thinks that's the new baseline. That's how we make power. That's where we get our electricity. That's a new baseline. And that's where we want to be. So I think the tipping point is when enough clear signals, they bring alignment and mobilize action. So we spent some time here on the rise and fall of, rise of clean energy, fall of fossil fuels policy. But I want to go back to markets just to remind everyone, that is like on our side. It's like one of these cases where business is really on our side. And the change is going to, happen slowly and then all at once. So, that brings me to this idea of a cultural shift and what are we trying to achieve? Or do we want sort of linear growth and change? Do we want it to be exponential, like cell phones, or viral, like digital videos? Is that what we're after? I don't think so. I don't know if I can do this at once. I have to do it. Ready? I think what we want is crystallization. If you've ever seen a chemical reaction happen, like in one of those under heat and pressure and you can see through the glass door, it's amazing. It's nothing's happening, maybe it's bubbling, and then all of a sudden crystallization happens and it just, right, throughout, solidifies. Maybe ice is a good example, but ideas can crystallize, and they can result in really durable change. And that's where I think we're getting close to that. That's what we're aiming for. And one of the reasons is, you can resist an invading army, right? But you cannot resist an idea whose time has come. And that's, we're there. This idea, it's ready. It's ready to take off. So what we see, what we'd like to see, as we move away from the world of fossil fuels and into this new world, a society that's energy aware can get to the place we can agree, we can plant the flag, and we can say, this is where we're going. We don't want to go back there anymore. We're going this way. this way. Everybody's going this way. That is, the social, the economic, political, legal, everything pushing in that direction. It'll be amazing what we can do when we get there, and we've actually already achieved a lot. This is my ask slide. I had a hard time with it. It sort of came together last minute. It's a little different than all the other slides. But I think it is time, that's what we can say, right? It's time to act. It's time to electrify. It's time to rally. And we need to spread the word. And, thank you for the work you're doing and the work that Generation 180 and everybody's doing to set this up and everything that is being done. We're not confused. We don't think we're going to get this done, right? It's not Generation 180. It's everyone and all the other groups, nonprofits, and it's going to take a lot of word of mouth and realization actually about our progress, right? That's the one. We got to flip the script. It's not doom and gloom. It's actually, hey, this is really getting better. We can do it. Does anybody know what this is? Can somebody first raise your hand? Scream it out. Control the situation? Yes. Situation is under control. No worries. And then here are some resources. These, Drawdown Speed and Scale is a new book. John Dort's great. I think that's everything I have. Thank you very much.